We're going to be taking a look at a bunch of home videos today, and I'll just tell everybody right now, if you came to see Expo 67, I didn't get those films ready, so you can go home and save your time. The Expo 67 films are really strange because I'm watching it on the scanner and everything is looking great and it's going along, and all of a sudden the pictures turn 90 degrees sideways. And I'm trying to figure, oh, hell, what's gone wrong with the scanner, And then it goes back again. And I took the film and looked at it, and no, the guy had shot it for some reason, turning the camera 90 degrees sideways. So we're watching the mini rail, and it's going along, and all of a sudden the mini rail sideways. Then further into the movie, he's got it this way. So what I've got to do now is edit those scenes and flop them 90 degrees. But because it's not a square format, it's shot 4:3 ratio. When I go and flip those scenes over, I've got to add borders and stuff on. I'm still trying to figure out why on earth would anybody shoot a video or a movie 90 degrees off to the side. Looking at his watch. No, it's interesting. Darren's asking, was he looking at his watch? It wasn't that he turned it and looked. You could see it was all at film, scene cuts. So he's going along, and then it's shot this way, and it's going along, and then it's shot this way going along, and then it's shot this way. It's just really bizarre. I can't figure out why he did it that way, because I've never seen a movie camera that I could understand. I've talked about my aunt who always took pictures of her thumb everywhere in the world. I could understand if he handed the camera to somebody else, they didn't know what to do and they held it the wrong way. But I've never seen a movie camera that you could not understand which side was up and which side was down. So anyway, just
that's like if you're going to take a video on a cell phone, why don't they take it in landscape mode instead of portrait?
God, I hate that. Yeah.
Yeah, so you don't see maybe funny bars at the side.
Yeah, that guy must have taken lessons from my father, because my dad would shoot like that.
Oh,
and he would cut off everybody's heads,
Yeah.
Maybe it was your father's video, Joey.
What's that? Yeah.
I said maybe it was your father who was the photographer.
Bill, maybe it was his way of trying to achieve IMAX, high over your head.
Even worse, I knew a guy to hold the camera diagonally just to make it more interesting. That was ridiculous, a diagonal photo.
Well, I tell you what I can do. I haven't fully restored this, but I can give you an example of it. So let me start here. 1 second. Start video. So let me share the screen. Before I do that, just one other thing. A number of the videos that I'm going to show this week are going to have to be redone. I ran into a real computer glitch that's just driving me crazy. I have the scanner attached to my main computer that I'm using now. And I would normally, the way the scanner works is it takes a still image for every frame of the picture, and then it combines it into a movie. And then I would be taking those movies, putting into a processing program that would do things like reduce the grain, fix the colors, take out, stabilize the image as it shifts around. Well, about 2 weeks ago, I went and turned the computer on, and it came on, it was great, but it can't find its mouse or its keyboard or any USB devices. It's totally lost USB connectivity with the rest of the world. It's done this before, wait a couple days, comes back. Well, this time it's not coming back, so I got to take the computer apart, probably put another motherboard in or something. So I figured, okay, I will go and put the software on one of the laptops I have here in the office. Put it on there, did it, and it turns out it's overexposing the images. So you're going to see some stuff blown out. So I get to redo it all over again. The nice thing is I've saved the raw scans, so I don't have to scan the films. I just have to process it. But let me get into this Expo 67 just to be silly, and let's see if anybody can figure out why he was doing what he was doing. So again, this is not edited or anything. So see, all of a sudden he goes and he's shooting the thing going the wrong way. And then he'll go back and we'll see everything going the right way. If he had shot everything the wrong way, it would be just a matter of flipping the whole film over. But now I've got to go scene by scene to figure out what he's done and then undo it. So everything will be looking great. We'll be seeing the United Nations and the US Pavilion. And all of a sudden we're going to flip over to another angle. It seemed like he was doing it a lot when he was going in on a telephoto lens. So Come on,
Bill, should this be a movie? Because I'm just seeing an individual stills.
Oh, you know what? Hang on one second. Thank you for pointing it out. What I did was I did share screen and I forgot to optimize for video clip. So,
How long does it take you to scan each individual frame?
it goes pretty fast. It goes 17 frames per second on the scanner. So,
Wow.
yeah, it rips through there pretty quickly. Let me just start the movie again here. Most of the, so-called silent movies are generally shot at 16 frames a second, and the sound movies are done at 18 frames or 24 if they have sound for Super 8. So basically, the scanner rips through them pretty quick. It takes a while though, because what I have to first do is take the film, manually clean it, and try to get all the dirt and grime and everything off. Then I usually scan it at 2 exposures so I can get the high and the dark areas and then put them together. Are you seeing it okay now, Glenn?
Yeah, that's much better.
Okay, yeah, sorry, I forgot to click the video clip button. So we're gonna see this thing flip over again to the side, and then it goes into the processing program. The processing program takes about an hour for a 4-minute reel. And again, this has gone through the program, so it's been stabilized and not having the camera jitter. But you'll see it's going to flip over to the side in a moment. And I'm trying to remember. I don't remember if this was Super 8. No, this was regular 8. This particular film that we're watching now. Super 8 was just coming out at that point in time. So and you get some really. See, all of a sudden now there we are. We got to get all the flagpoles going sideways. And we're back to the regular people. I mean, it's just a weird thing that the guy did.
Maybe he just fell over.
I think I know why he did it. I think he's thinking he wants to capture some of these things in a portrait mode, not realizing that he can't capture portrait on video on moving film compared to a camera, still camera. But it looked like that first shot with the monorail going across, and then the one with the flags. He was attempting to capture the frame because he could get more of the subject in a portrait mode than he could in a landscape mode. He probably just didn't realize. Well, he just probably wasn't smart enough to know you can't do that on a film camera. That's what I think. I'm guessing.
I'm
That's what I'm
figuring
thinking.
he went to UCLA's film school instead of USC's.
It was probably a new camera. He just didn't know what he was doing.
My theory is it was a chiropractor and he wanted to have everybody come to the house, watch the movies, and then he could crack the joints and put them back. Sorry, Carol's not here to take care of the usual dog nonsense, so they're letting me know the mail lady is arriving. I got a kick out of this one. You got hot feet, no problem. Just go wander around in the canals.
Actually, all in all, film, Bill, it's not a bad film.
No, it's not.
It's not jittery. He's capturing. I mean, like even this one here, he's capturing subjects. He's framing them well. It's not like he's. They're half-a-second clips. They're not like at the top of people's heads. He's actually doing very well on this. I think just those two, he probably just wasn't thinking. He put it in portrait mode. Because everything else looks, well framed, well cropped. Knew what he was shooting.
You see here, by the way, how the swan is blown out. That's why I've got to go back and readjust the light images in these. Okay, puppies, it's all right. He did like to get shots of nuns eating ice cream cones, that's for sure.
Well, they didn't have Belgian waffles.
No, yeah, I don't remember any Belgian waffles at the expo being a big thing.
How many times were you up there?
Expo? Oh, I was only there for a week during it, and then I was going back a lot for the World Day. So let me grab another expo film. I'm real sorry about the dogs. I'm going to start the movie here. And are you guys able to see the movie? is the movie showing?
It's stuck on a frame right now.
Yeah, okay, I stopped
frame.
it just to see it. I'm gonna let this play while I go try to take care of the dogs. I'll be right back. Hey, girls, it's okay. There's nobody there. There's nobody there. It's okay. Ah,
How
Yeah,
many of us have been up to Expo? Has everybody been up there? Have most of us
No,
been
I've
up
never
there?
been. I've
No,
never
never
been.
been.
No,
it was really spectacular. I mean, I got a real kick out of it. I'd been to Canada before, but basically just Niagara Falls area. So to get over an area where the primary language was French it felt so international to me. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was let's see, all of a sudden now, bam, that we're getting flags this way. So I thought it was really good. What I of course I love the 64 fair, no doubt. But what I liked about Expo was it was truly more of a World's Fair with many more international pavilions and less of an emphasis on industry and technology, that sort of thing. This is the Italy pavilion, sculptures up on the roof. So and then again, all of a sudden we go sideways. So what I also got a kick out of it was going back to college. I went to college only about an hour and a half drive from Montreal, and went up for just the weekend. And all of a sudden, there was the World's Fair. It was still there. It ran for about another 12 years as Man in His World. So it was like being able every year to go back and see an old friend again. It was really spectacular that it lasted as long as it did. And if you do go up to Montreal today, the U.S. Pavilion is still there, although it's called Biosphere now. And it's a couple of the buildings are still left, but the amusement area, La Ronde amusement area, is still out there. So Legacy is part of World's Fair. So that's the end of that one. So I'm going to jump into other films here. 1 second. Let me just bring them up. We're going to see some examples of people that definitely did not know how to shoot movies if I get to them. And there's one guy where I think his average shot length was 7 seconds. I'm going to get all of Disneyland and in 1 4-minute reel. But let me start here with this one. This is Super 8 that we're looking at now. And this was this was Super 8. The colors in this one were really shot. It wasn't Kodak film. It was Ansco, and they really went to a heavy blue or purple sort of thing. But it was interesting. You try to date these films. The beginning of the film, and I can show it later, he took a tour of LA, and I didn't do it all. He had movie star home after movie star home after movie star home. And to me, they just look like houses. So I just edited them all out. But he went to some spots that were neat. And then they ended up in Disneyland. So it's either 75 or 76 based on the America on Parade sign out front. So here's the Nature's Wonderland, town of Rainbow Ridge. Like I said, the colors on this film are really shot. It's really, sad to see how the dyes have shifted or faded over the years, and you just hope you can grab them and save them before they get even worse. Snow White Grotto. The old Fantasyland.
That's Merlin's Magic Shop. I used to work in that.
Did you?
Yeah, for 3 years, I demonstrated and sold magic to people.
You remember the Magic Castle?
Yeah, for 50 years.
Wow, it's certainly gotten a lot more expensive lately, hasn't it?
That's for sure. But the best deal is the Friday lunch. It's a buffet, all you can eat for $20.
Oh, that's pretty good.
And they got it. They got everything on it.
It seemed like almost every time I went there, I'd run into Dick Sherman.
Yeah, same here.
I took my parents there a couple of years ago. They were out visiting, and I made reservations and everything. And they sat down, and Dick was at the next table, so we went over and said hi. But my parents were not as impressed by meeting him as it was when they looked at the menu, where it was printed that the Magic Castle welcomes, Bill and Grace Cotter from New York today. They thought that was just astonishing to have that on the menu.
Yeah, Milt used to put your names in there if you'd send him an email.
Yeah, not nice, nice touch.
Well, if you never need to go again, let me know. I can send you a pass.
Oh, great, appreciate it. Yeah, a friend of ours, Kevin and Alice Lieberman are members. I don't know if you know them.
No, I don't think so.
They've been members forever. Alice used to perform there, but hasn't done it in years. So, yeah, great fun. My dad had gone to the Magic Castle when he first came out here to visit when we were still living in New York, and he came back, with all these tales of it. So, yeah, we had to go, and of course, you try to stump Irma and all the rest of it. It's great fun. Do you still do magic, Glenn?
Oh, once in a while. I have a number of tricks that I can still do.
Yeah. Did you ever know a guy named Bruce Servan?
I've seen him perform. He was really good.
He was. When my wife got her master's degree, I threw a party to celebrate, and I called the castle and said I'd like to get a magician, and they recommended Bruce, and he came over and did a show in our living room that was just spectacular. I mean, it was no, I think people were going to block the door. They didn't want him to leave because they wanted to see another one. So let me jump to this. This is the same roll of film. This is vintage 1975, 76. So the guy, I took out, like I said, lots of shots of movie star celebrity houses, but thought people might want to see some things like Tower Records, things that are gone. So he's driving down Hollywood Boulevard here, or Sunset. He sees Fredericks of Hollywood there, sign for Don the Beachcomber. And we go visit some of the stars. I mean, again, real quick shots in some of these. I don't know who he's imitating there, lying on the ground. And speak of the Magic Castle, Glenn. We'll see it.
Yeah, there it is.
There you go. It was interesting. I tried dating this based on that sign of the conductor and the pianist at the Hollywood Bowl, and found out that they first performed together in 1975, but they were still performing together in 1992. So luckily, further in the reel, the sign showed up for Disneyland for America on Parade. But I figured, oh, this would be great. I'll be able to date it after that. Nope. They played together a lot. If you're ever in LA, you can go out to the Hollywood Bowl. What they're obviously doing here is rehearsing. Nobody's wearing tuxedos or suits, and the stands are empty. But you can get a nice tour of the place, walk in and see it, and enjoy the Hollywood Bowl. I don't think they charge anything to walk in. The La Brea Tar Pits. Like I said, this film was a tough
My
shape.
favorite place. My favorite place.
I bet. No souvenirs allowed, Joey.
Yeah, I've got a big chunk of it actually.
Oh, really?
I'll have to show you all. Yeah.
How'd you
I love
get a
that
piece?
place.
How'd you get a piece of tar?
A friend of mine, the tar was along the tree line, and there was a big outside the fence line, and there was a big piece of it. And she sent me a big chunk of it through the mail in what is that? Dry ice.
No kidding.
Yeah, I'll show you. And there's an actual a little beetle that's in it, a little fossilized beetle. Yeah.
Why was it packed in dry ice?
So I guess so that it would make the trip in case it because it's active tar, so it will melt. We have to put it in the refrigerator in the summer.
Obviously, we're back at Disneyland, and this again, the guy just click, 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 getting shots. This film was really badly exposed, very, very dark. So you do it the best you can, and sometimes you can, pull stuff out of it, and sometimes you can't. People asked a week or two ago why there's a sort of a dark spot at the edge of it. I did do some research. The scanner uses a LED array for lights, and it's theoretically supposed to be, flat and even across. It's giving a different exposure over on the far left. So I've been in touch with the scanner manufacturer to get another, LED array for it. So hopefully that works. It only shows up in these really dark things. Nature's Wonderland there. I always love the bubbling teapots.
Mud pots.
Mud pots, yes, thank you, sorry. Had Alice in Wonderland on my mind.
That's pretty bad, Bill, if that scanner is doing that. Particularly like on shots like this, I almost would think that, if I only thought it would be like, okay, just a bad camera flare off the side of, light flare off the side of the poor lens. But if you're saying it's your scanner that's doing this because it shows up in some of your other films that are poorly underexposed, that's not good. Yeah, I get a hold of your manufacturer.
Oh yeah, I've been in touch with them. Basically, these films are almost pitch black, and I've got the scanner dialed up to its maximum intensity, and it's also on auto exposure. If I turn off the auto exposure and dial it down, if I'm not overexposing the film for the rest of it, it comes out okay. So I've got to basically go back to those films where it shows that way, and then take it out of auto exposure and play with it more. It's also a bit of a problem that the software, as I mentioned right now, is since it's running on the laptop, it's overexposing things. Like you can see on the front of the boat there, it gets too bright.
Yeah.
So it's just the perfect storm of bad film, the software program's acting up, and I'll get it licked. So of course we don't have the keel boats anymore. One blew over in a heavy windy day, top heavy, and that was the end of that after 50 years of running safely. The busy day out in the rivers of America.
That's a man-made canal, isn't it?
Yeah, everything. This used to be orange grove, so it's all a man-made river. When they first dug it, they started filling it with water and realized all the water was just going right back into the ground. So they had to line it with clay, and since then it's been done, I think, in concrete.
It
But
still
yeah,
looks pretty muddy for a man-made. Why is it so muddy looking?
You don't want to see the rails that the boat is on, so it's purposely kept less than clean. So it looks like the Mississippi, the old muddy river, as opposed to like the submarine lagoon where it's kept clear. But the major thing is to keep you from seeing that it's an artificial bottom and the rails that the Mark Twain or the Columbia run on. So this is where Bear Country is now. This was the Indian village that was out there. And the chief is going to be giving us some instructions and introducing the dancing. Lots of pictures I have after the Indian performers would give their show. They would invite kids up on the dance ring to perform with them, and lots and lots of happy kids out there all learning how to do it.
What year do you think this is?
This would be mid 70s. This was Actually, before Bear Country, so this would be early 70s. I try to remember the year that Bear Country went in. So this would be right around 1970 or so. Great, Carol got home. She can take care of the dogs if they bark again. I think the mail's already here. They already went crazy. So let me grab another one. Here we go. Yeah, I try to look for specific years if I can, you know, what's gone, what's been added, what's been changed. You know, but there's so much of it where it was pretty much the same for all those years. It's hard to nail it down. And I know that the company spent a fortune on the new Fantasyland. I still kind of remember the old Fantasyland because that's what it was there. Most of what I worked at. This guy got a lot of shots of these signs that were painted up on it. He really spent time and effort zooming in and capturing them. So Peter Pan looks slightly evil there, to me at least. This is all done as a medieval fair, lots of banners and signs and, you know, stuff, you know, the things going across the block in the sun out there.
Only 10 cents.
Yep. Those haven't been there, the Sleeping Beauty walkthrough, you go through the castle. It was originally just designed as empty space, but then they decided that they could put in an exhibit of the movie, you know, scenes in there. Very interesting design place to have to work because again, it wasn't designed to be a show area. So things like support beams and that sort of thing were in the way, and they had to be very creative and working around it. I'm doing a roll of actually several rolls of film a guy shot at the Walt Disney World in 1973 for him, and I wish I could share those. I've got to ask him. He was an excellent photographer for a 16-year-old. He really got some great shots. And the roll I was doing 2 days ago, he was up in the Dumbo ride in Florida filming his family in the Dumbo behind him, and he really did an outstanding job. So when you're working on a film that's, you know, shot well and done well, it's really a real pleasure. Not, I mean, this particular one came out pretty well too.
Yeah, but about 10 seconds ago, in fact, you just right there, I saw it, that error with your scanner is evident even in this film.
Yeah,
Even right there.
Well,
I mean, right
yeah,
there, there you can see on the very left side where it's dark, but then it moves to get washed out. Yeah, scanner issue.
it's where it's very dark. Again, these are all shot with auto exposure. I'm going to go back and do them with the auto exposure off and get that fixed.
Well, I mean, is there something in the hardware itself, the way the way the light is transmitting through a translucent panel or something like that, or the way the LEDs are located? I mean, you know, tell me. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I'll get it licked. It's all a matter of education. So all these films came from the same person. They were all shot around Christmas time, but of course the question is which Christmas, which year?
Bill,
Yes.
is the Dumbo ride still there, and is it the original Dumbo ride?
No, the original Dumbo ride had, they tried a stunt with, by the way, this is where the partner statue is today. The original Dumbos had moving ears on it. And the idea was that as you would go along, the ears would flap back and forth to show you that Dumbo was flying you. It turned out that the mechanism was too heavy, and that when you put people in the Dumbo that were of any sort of weight and you try to lift them up, the Dumbo couldn't get off the ground. So they had to take out the mechanism. It only ran for a very short period of time, but in early pictures you can see the hinge joints for the ears. They later redid them without the ears, lighter weight, so they were able to lift heavier people, which is good because everybody's heavier now than they were in 57 or so.
Yeah.
When they redid Fantasyland, they totally took out the Dumbo ride, moved it to a new area, and I don't know, maybe Glenn or one other would, if the mechanism is new for the rebuild, but it's not in the same place that it used to be.
How much could that mechanism possibly have weighed? Couldn't have been more than 10, 20 pounds.
Oh, well, I don't know, but you figure if you have 20 pounds, and it makes a difference if you put two 250-pound adults in there. Maybe that was all that the hydraulics could lift up, but they everybody got in Dumbo, and you got a nice ride around at ground level. It wasn't real exciting, so they took that out.
Yeah, 20 pounds out on the far end of that arm translates to a little more weight, or the effect of more weight, I should say.
Right.
So they blame the malfunctioning ride on the mechanism rather than the overweight people.
Customer's always right.
Yeah, you notice, by the way, in these old photos, you never see overweight people. Not as common as it is today.
No, well, that's what I mentioned. Now you have to redo all the rides and everything with that base in mind. I mean, again, I mentioned earlier about the keelboat falling over. Well, everybody from the day the keelboat first went out wanted to ride up top, better views and everything. But back when, say, the average person weighed, I'll make up something, 150 pounds, you could put 10 of them up there, it was great. Now when everybody's 225 and you put 10 of them up there, all of a sudden the boat flips over. So all sorts of things that, you have to change to be with the times.
That's where you can't find a really overweight person in any of these old films. It's hard to find.
Well, of course, the airline industry has adapted, right? As Americans have gotten bigger and heavier and everything, what has the airlines done? They've shrunk the seats. So.
Yeah.
Now this one, I'm going to jump here to, this is a souvenir film you can buy of panoramic tour of the World's Fair. This was bright red, and I got it about 50% back in color and decided that it was too distracting where the colors were coming and going. So I just converted it into black and white. But this is one of the souvenir films that you could buy at the fair. I just got a kick out of seeing it. Some of the dirt here was printed right on it, so that the scanner, everything, having a hard time trying to de-dirtify it. But it's interesting. This was sold in both a 8mm version and a 16mm version. This is the 8, and I watch. I have a thing set on eBay to alert me when World's Fair movies come up. And this particular film, that they were sold by the zillions back then. They've all turned red, but you can see, the average person is trying to get 10, 20 bucks for it. But if you went and looked at eBay today, there's, somebody who's listing it for $99.99, a heck of a bargain. And you just see it month after month after month. And I always wonder, hasn't the guy realized that nobody's going to buy his film for $99.99 when you can buy the exact same film for $9.99? But I guess all he needs is one guy to be desperate and buy it.
Hey, Bill, kind of side subject here. How many photographs in your collection are 3D, like the one that was posted on the Facebook page 2 days ago?
Most of my pictures, I mean, in the 64 World's Fair, I probably have right now about 28,000 images. And I probably have around 400 in 3D. And so I have about 400 from this. I have about 250 from Expo 67. So most of it is shot, just a regular flat film. I'm not counting the Viewmaster, reels that they, the commercial ones. I'm only talking about the ones that were shot in the stereo realist format. And
Are
they're
any of those 3D you have online anywhere? I'm just curious. I haven't
Yeah,
looked.
they're on my CD number 12. I have a section of it, and when I sell it, I even sell it with a genuine pair of 3D glasses. I've got a whole
Okay.
bunch more. I've got a whole bunch from Disneyland I've got to do too, but they're a real pain to do because you have to scan it, and then you don't have to just clean up the image. You got to clean the image twice. So you've got twice as much dust and everything to take out, and then you've got to align it. And what I generally do, like on the CD, it has the left image, the right image, and then the red, green anaglyph, or blue sign. I did a whole, about 3 different versions of it.
Well, when the fellow posted the one 2 days ago, 3 days ago, whatever it was, I think he posted it in parallel first, and then he posted subsequently in cross-eyed. And it's easier for me to look at any image on the screen cross-eyed. Paralleled, I got to kind of reduce the image on the screen. My eyes don't focus that well on a parallel image without a viewer. But I was just curious, what the amount of 3D photographs you had in your collection.
Yeah,
And certainly not Viewmaster.
yeah, no, they're relatively rare because it required a special camera. This film is not a great film, but being a big fan of the Queen Mary, which was just interesting, I just happened to post by total coincidence a thing about the Queen Mary on Facebook today. But here's a shot of the Queen Mary leaving New York and heading off to a tour across the ocean over to England. Have not placed the year on this one. Sometimes you can do it because the little box that they come in was sent off by processing by mail and would have a cancellation on it. In this particular case, just the reel. But being a ship fan, I got a kick out of it. So we have boat coming out to join. Sometimes you have the harbor pilot come out or join. And this particular one, somebody decides to go water skiing. We'll see them in a moment. And there they are water skiing. Back when I guess the Hudson, I don't know how clean the Hudson River was at this point in time, if I'd want to be out and getting wet in it. It was terribly polluted for a long, long period of time. To the point when they started finding fish in it again, it was newsworthy to get into the paper. And then our warning about don't eat them. And again, this is certainly not going to win any awards for cinematography or anything else, but being an ex-New Yorker, I just got a kick out of seeing the old ferries and the rest of it. My parents may have mentioned on other events were in the travel business, and they did an awful lot of cruising. And the Queen Mary was one of the ships that they really liked. So that when it was retired and brought out here as a hotel in Long Beach, they would make a pilgrimage out there. I got a picture I posted on Facebook today of my dad standing on the ship and then me standing in the same spot. But they were very, very big on the Queen Mary in the glory days of ocean liners as opposed to cruise ships. We'll see a little bit more. It's just scenes of the ocean here. Again, I haven't edited all this down too much, but Queen Mary's been closed since the beginning of the pandemic, and hopefully they're able to save it. The hull is wearing very, very thin in some places from the effect of electrolysis on it.
Bill, how do they moor it in the harbor? Is it sitting in the water or?
Yeah, it's sitting in water, and that's the big problem, Joey. If they had just taken it and filled in the dirt on either side of it, like they did that with one of the battleships. I think it's the USS Texas. They brought it in, put it in an area and then filled it all in. But for the Queen Mary, they wanted to look like it's at sea, so you have salt water sitting and it's been in Long Beach now since the 70s. So it's been sitting there for 50 years in the salt water, getting eaten away, and it's really taken a toll on it. And that's what they're trying to figure out what they can do with it. Do they, just it's in like a little lagoon area. It's got a breakwater around it so that the waves don't come and hit it. But do they just, fill it all in on concrete where the water is today and try to save it that way?
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting, it's actually on foundations. It's not floating.
No.
It's on foundations, but there are still people who get on board of it and get seasick.
Yeah.
So it shows you sometimes it's a little mental more than it is an actual physical thing.
We used to have that at Disney World at the Empress Lily. There were people that would come in and here's a ship seen from a tender going ashore. There were people that would swear they were getting seasick and they couldn't sit near the window in the back with the paddle wheel because it was making them seasick. But
Gee, it looks just like the SS Poseidon.
well, it's funny you say that, because where do you think they shot big parts of the Poseidon Adventure?
I know.
Oh, okay.
It
So
was actually shot in the Queen Mary. They shot it in the Queen Mary?
Yeah, they did.
I didn't know that.
yeah, Irwin Allen was really big on that. So let me just grab stuff here real quick. Again, I have not had time to. This is all coming straight off the scanner, but we're gonna look at Disneyland in 1967. This one, luckily, so we get to again. I haven't edited this, so we get to see this kid at the beginning beforehand. This one had about 25 minutes of family stuff and then a few minutes of Disneyland. So we get to see her enjoying her little horse. And now we're at Disneyland. So I've got to go back and rework these, but they just came literally, as they say, hot off the laptop. So. Yeah, I've got to figure out what software setting I had set correctly on my sick desktop that I have to go and replicate successfully on my working laptop. And I am going to try to fix my sick desktop anyway, but after a while with computers, you just want to go bah humbug. Again, some of this stuff is just really dark here in the Jungle Cruise. There's not going to be any way to salvage this at all. But his shirt, for example, should not be anywhere as blown out as it is. And for everybody that complains about Disneyland being crowded, you can see it was pretty crowded back then.
Must have been a weekend day.
Could be, it was interesting. I loved going out at lunchtime, taking the name tag off, going to the park, and we could try to ride Space Mountain, Big Thunder, and the Matterhorn, see if we could get them all in during lunch on a Wednesday or something. So, those times sure have changed. Now, was
this particular film done on your laptop?
Yes.
Okay.
Bill, I rode Space Mountain in Florida and Space Mountain in Disneyland on the same day.
No kidding.
Yeah, I'd been working down there and we flew back and my wife says, we're going to Disneyland.
But had she just taken out a new life insurance policy on you or something?
Well, I mentioned it to John Lasseter. We were up at Pixar doing recordings and he was like blown away by that. And he started scheming, how can we see all Space Mountains that exist in the same day. And so he was planning on taking the corporate jet and flying around the world.
You have to go west to pick up the time zone hours. That helps.
Yeah. He says, well, if we cross the date line when we come back, then, we'll get an extra day.
So I guess that would count, huh?
I guess so. I don't think they ever did it, but it was fun talking about it.
Great.
So
Now,
which is the better Space Mountain? Are they identical?
Well, Disneyland, but no, they're not identical. The Florida one has 2 tracks in it, and there's no onboard audio. Whereas Disneyland, we added the music on board. So I think that's the best one.
This particular film this is just the raw scan. It hasn't been post-processed, so the colors have not been corrected or it hasn't been stabilized or anything. It's sitting cranking away on the other computer, but I got a kick out of this because this is the main entrance, the Gotham Gate entrance, which is where I came in probably 80% of the time, having come by the Long Island Railroad.
Glenn, when we go to Walt Disney World, we bring our own music, of Dick Dale's Space Mountain and play it.
Yeah, that's funny how he got credit for that, but actually all Dick did was add in some overdubs, those little guitar licks. The whole piece was put together by one of our guys at work, Aaron Richards.
I'll be. Didn't know that at all.
If you listen to it, it's actually the Saint-Saëns Symphony No. 3 sped up and played like a surf guitar track.
That's neat.
Yeah.
It's the same piece of music.
Like, Pulp Fiction. Yeah.
It's the same piece of music that finishes the France film at Epcot, but not the same recording.
Right. Now this one you can see here, the joys of having a hair in the film gate. It was a movie I did yesterday where the entire top left corner didn't have a hair. It had a Beatles haircut up in the corner. It was you wonder if the guy ever cleaned his camera at all. In this particular one, we're at 1965, and again, you look at it and try to figure out how. There was a cart, the thing in there for go-kart rides, and that was a 65 edition. And then the the Greyhound tram going around had flags on it advertising the route that it was on. Again, something they added in 65. But this is what, again, a lot of these films that I've shown before have had the colors restored on them. This is what I start with, just showing it today because I didn't get the laptop, besides having other issues, is also much slower than my broken desktop. So something the desktop can do in an hour takes the laptop about 4 hours to do, and that's even with a solid state drive in the laptop. It's just the difference of the the processor chips that are in a multi-core heavy desktop version.
Bill, there was another thing I've just noticed watching this film that I hadn't picked up on before. We've talked about the way people dress. It has changed so much since then.
Yeah.
Another thing I noticed, a number of women in the film that have headscarves on, and you don't see any woman wear a headscarf these days.
No.
My mother wore them. My mother wore them all the time.
Yeah, my grandmother did quite a bit. I don't remember if my mother did or not, but I know my grandmother did. But it's just one of those things I see. I'm going like, wow, I haven't seen a headscarf on a woman in I don't know how long.
Yeah.
And this part I'm just going to stop because he totally, absolutely overexposed it, and there's just nothing to salvage it there. Let's get another reel of 64.
It
Yeah.
was winter time. That's what it was.
It's very interesting too, because you can see, here's look at all the junk up in the upper left corner on this.
Wow.
How much would it hurt you to clean your camera, buddy? So when I do run this through the processor, it's going to take out 99% of the grain and flickering that that you're seeing up there.
Is there a way to identify that because it's pretty stationary and tell the software, get rid of that, that's really not supposed to be there?
There is, but it costs $10,000 for a piece of software. That. And
Okay.
so for me, you're going to continue to see that.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, the nice thing about that other software, again, if I could afford it, where it really helps with vertical scratches. If there's the software I use, which is free, does a pretty good job on the average piece of dirt, because it takes a frame and looks at the frame before it and the frame after it, and then sees whether or not that dirt just popped up for a frame, and it tries to mathematically take it out. It also does a pretty good job if there's a horizontal scratch. The problem with the vertical scratch is that that same scratch is in frame after frame after frame. So for all the software knows that is part of the image. Well, this other software that you can get, you basically take a light pen and draw it up along the frame, the vertical scratch, and say, take this out. And just like it takes out the scratch on the Nikon scanner that I have for 35mm slides, and it kind of interpolates around it, it can do a really nice job. But it's really interesting. A lot of people keep writing to the company. I think they're based in Germany, saying, we don't want your entire suite. We're not editing 35mm, 70mm films, for restoring to Blu-ray disc. Can you just come up with a light version of this? And they say, we'll look into it. And they still haven't done it. It would be just a wonderful tool to have. You go online and you look at the before and after shots that they have. It's just astonishing what it can do. And I do know somebody that went off and spent the $10,000 on it, and he says it does actually do what the demo shots do. And he does it for a living for a high-end corporate client, so he's able to justify it. There's just no way that that I ever could even begin to justify it to myself.
Have Bill Cotter Plus, where you pay to have the scratches removed if you want to see the films that way.
You know how much film you have to do to pay $1,000? I've actually just
No, I mean subscriptions to your channel. Do you have Bill Cotter Plus versus just Bill Cotter?
Yeah, right. Yeah, like Disney Plus.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. No, I actually just registered a domain. I'm going to be putting together a website about trying to restore home movies. A number of people, I've seen the ones that I've done, and I've done a couple jobs, and I'm in the middle of doing this job that I mentioned for a fellow from Disney World for 73 that paying off the scanner here and some of the other tools and stuff. But I enjoy it because if I'm doing films for somebody else, I get to see their takes on things. And it's like I said, the guy for the 73 stuff in Disney World did a really, really great job. For a 16-year-old, I'm just blown away how well he did. On the other hand, I can show you another film when we're done with this. I'll pull it up that you might get a kick out of. It's really, really bad.
What film stock was this shot on, Bill?
I don't know. It's on a unlabeled reel, and just had a generic leader on the front of it. Sometimes you get the process by Kodak leader. You can get an idea there. But this one, matter of fact, I don't even know if this one had a leader. I had to stick it on it. But when it does go through the processing program, it luckily does take out a lot of the dirt and, visually distracting stuff that goes through there. But this particular film, I did one version of it, and it didn't come out quite right. It took 8 hours to run through the program.
Well, short of you pre-cleaning it before you scanned it, I mean, it looks like obviously that whoever owned it ran it through his projector a couple of million times and then kind of put it away wet, because all these scratch marks and dirt, would have been after the fact, not during the filming of it. So he evidently watched it a lot.
Yeah, it's interesting. I do clean these, and I use I may have mentioned before, something called PEC 12, a film cleaning solution, and then the special pads called PEC pads. Every now and then, like the stuff I'm doing for the guy from 73, the first film was incredibly dirty. And hey, did your parents smoke? Yes. Okay. It's amazing how it picks up the grime and everything, for that sort of stuff. Every now and then, I get a film that, goes through it clean as a whistle, but, the amount of dirt that comes off of one of these is truly astonishing. And each little minute piece of dirt is getting blown up, like 13,000 times in size, so they come out to be huge. So in this particular one, I've cleaned this one at least once, if not twice. But stuff like up in the upper left, it's part of the film, it's never going to come off. But yeah, a lot of these films, rode hard, put away wet. They've seen a lot of wear and tear. Now, with this shot here, you can date this, that this was 1964, because the Ringling Brothers Continental Circus was only a 64 attraction. It was taken down for the second season.
Well, that does kind of say one thing about this photographer, that he sure enjoyed watching it over and over and over, if that's the case. Because it's good. Because it's like I said, it's got a lot of dirt on it that wasn't able to get cleaned off.
Yeah, the trouble is you have to be careful when you're trying to clean it, because if the stuff gets really embedded in there, you want to damage the emulsion by ripping a chunk of dirt out and taking anything else with it. So at some point you get to the law of diminishing returns. The showgirls here are trying to get you to come in and see the Walters Wax Museum. Another way to date at 64 being the escorter that just went by. Speaking of Disney Plus, I don't know how many of you people have it, but I've had it since it came out. But and just in case anybody's a Verizon phone user, and I do not get a plug for this, but if you're a Verizon phone user and you get their unlimited plan, you also get free Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN. You get the Disney bundle for free. So I recently changed my cell phone plan, my bill went down, and I got free Disney channels, or Disney Plus. So I was very happy yesterday to take care of all that. So
Down to what, Bill?
Because your phone was old and they told you got to upgrade?
no, basically I have a number of phones on the plan, and we had a certain legacy plan, get a discount as a first responder. And they came up with a new discount program for combining the lines and putting it all together. And it came out to be about $40. I have 4 lines on it. It came out to be about $45 less on their new plan. And I got unlimited everything, so if you're on an older plan and you haven't paid attention to what they're offering for newer plans, it just became literally go out to the store, click, click, click. My bill went down $40. My service went up, and I got free Disney Channel or Disney Plus. So
Is
if
it free for all the time or just a year?
what's that?
Is it-
Well, it's been I have no idea how long it goes for, but if I get just 1 year, that's great, because I was paying for it. But
Yeah.
they don't have an end date on their website. It just says, as a member of our program.
Okay,
of
because I
course.
know when I had Verizon and Disney Plus first came out, they offered it, if I got a new phone, I got it for a year for free. So I didn't know, and that is long gone. So, and we're on a different service now anyway, so I just pay for it.
Bill, what's the bottom line though? Because like T-Mobile is $55 for Carrie and I, and then we're still on the original Disney Plus from when it when they announced it at D23, and we signed up for, I think it was 5 years or something. So that expires this November.
I have 4 lines on Verizon, and there's certain options, for the spam filter, and the my son tends to be harder on his cell phones than the rest of us, so I have the equipment protection thing on there. And for the 4 of them, it comes to 100, and I think the last bill is $167. that does have, I think, a 20% first responder discount on it.
Well, yeah, so our T-Mobile is way less. Like I said, just $55 for Carrie and I, but we're both over 65, so that's why. And it does have all sorts of perks like Major League Baseball and service all around the world and
My major factor,
unlimited.
yeah, my major factor was I wanted a cell phone that worked at my house. And if you go to billcotter.com, there's a thing on there about why friends don't let friends use Sprint. I had a hell of a trouble with them where Sprint power went out near me and they couldn't get it fixed. And I just couldn't use the phone. So I'm in an area where AT&T is next to impossible. So I got Verizon and thank God it works. So I just stayed with it all these years, and my daughter wanted to get a new phone, which we ended up not getting. But we just saw the discount. Have you guys seen the problem that they're having with the newest iPhones with roller coasters?
Yeah, they call 911.
Yeah, they call 911 and report that you've had an accident. And there was a thing on CNN the other night about a guy who was on a roller coaster, got off, and they had all these calls from his family because not only you call 911, it goes out to your emergency contact list and says, so and such has had a serious accident, and everybody was trying to call him, and he didn't know it because he's on the roller coaster. So he's got things from his mother. Johnny, are you dead? Johnny, call me back. Tell me you're not dead. So yeah, evidently the new iPhone is very, very sensitive to G forces on roller coasters.
Well, they did I saw it advertised that if your car rolls over or something, it has a way of sensing that and sending off the message to 911, but nobody thought about a roller coaster mimicking that. So they're going to probably have to have an addition to it in software where you have a switch to go into roller coaster mode like you do airplane mode, right?
Well, it's funny. I have an Apple Watch, and I got it so when I'm doing bike patrol, it was pretty easy. The phone would ring. Beforehand, I'd have to take the phone out of my pocket, look at it, see who it was, try not to drop the phone. Now with the Apple Watch, I can just look at it, say I don't need to talk to them, or I can play Dick Tracy and just answer it on my watch, right? Well, about 2 years 2 years ago, I was out directing traffic, and somebody came down and started trying to drive right through the accident scene. And I'm screaming at him, go back and, gesturing, with the traffic wand, back, back, back. And all of a sudden the Apple Watch goes off and says, it appears you've had an accident. Would you like me to call 911? And I said, no. And every now and then when I'm out on patrol and one of these idiots goes and, does something really stupid, all of a sudden the watch goes off and says, your heart rate is very elevated. Are you okay? So
Hey, Bill,
okay, I'm just mad. Yeah.
on topic to this film, how many times, let me rephrase this. Which pavilions did you attend the most when you went to the New York World's Fair, and which one did you like the best?
Well, the one I did the most was easy. That was the Bell System. My friend's sister worked as a hostess at the Bell System. And so she was able to get us into the fair, usually for free, most days, not always. But and then we could go into the Bell System and sit in the employee lounge, which was really great, free soft drinks and everything. And then they also had the touch tone phones. I could, call people, which the only people I knew were the people all back home that I could call anyway. But it was just so cool to be using a touch tone phone. The best thing was we didn't have to wait for the ride, so we could just walk up to the front of the VIP line, get on the ride and go. And I think I've mentioned a stunt my brother pulled with that. But I also really, really enjoyed the Carousel of Progress. I thought that was really spectacular. And I also really enjoyed the Ford Pavilion. The riding in a convertible was just, matter of fact, the gals that would drive us into the World's Fair had a brand new Mustang convertible. So to me, a convertible on Long Island was just a rare, gem of a thing. So I just love that. I went on GM a couple times. I thought it was interesting, but sort of dull compared to some of the others. And I'm just trying to think of others that really hit me. I guess with some of the others, my biggest memories came from the people that worked in some of the international pavilions. And I've mentioned a woman in the Egypt pavilion that I had a really poignant conversation with. But if it was free, I went a lot more than if it would charge money, that's for sure, because I had next to no budget to do anything. So like for the New York State Towers, I think I got up there twice, because I think it was a quarter to go up, and for a quarter I could also have lunch that day. So
You were 12, 16, 18? Oh, how old
12.
were you?
I was 12,
12, okay.
12 and 13, right?
Yeah, well, that's a good impressionable age because you're old enough to run around on your own, and not get into too serious trouble, but you're not too old to where, things get boring and you're under peer pressure from your friends who don't want to be there. You said Carousel of Progress was your probably most favorite one, where you spent a
Well,
lot of time there.
Well, the Bell system was probably my favorite, and then I ended up later working for the phone company and going into computers and everything. I think a big part because of the Bell system. But then I really liked the Carousel of Progress. I thought the story was well told. I liked the music, but I thought the AA figures were just kind of a breathtaking advance in technology.
And what was your impression of Kodak, particularly up on the moon deck there?
It was interesting to go and wander around it and take pictures. I remember they had the movie, I think it was called The Seeing Eye. And obviously I'm big into photography. Matter of fact, I was talking about my wife at dinner last night that Kodak has just put out a thing. They're looking to hire 500 more people in Rochester because there's been an explosion about film coming back, and they can't keep up with the demand. And now film has become hard to find and hard to get processed because of supply and demand. When I was in college, one of the very first jobs I was offered was with Eastman Kodak. But I had a choice of doing that or going on submarines, and I decided submarines would be more interesting. And I was also tired of upstate New York after going to college up there. But I liked Kodak. But I thought the pavilion, the moon roof was interesting. A great way to take pictures, across the way over at, views of the Small World building, that sort of stuff. But there wasn't I didn't like the movie there as much as, for example, the Johnson Wax movie. It won an Academy Award. It was really a great film. The Kodak one, I don't remember an awful lot about other than, being interesting.
Okay, thank you. I was just wanted to, as we were looking at this and the Bell System building went by, it just kind of hit me, that, oh yeah, I wonder how many times you went there and
Yeah.
and which one was your, I mean, I'm not saying that they were all not your favorites because they certainly would be, but which one did you have more sort of affinity to? That's all.
Well, there was, sorry for the dogs. There was just a shot of the DuPont Pavilion, and that was another interesting one. I'll just stop this real quick. The DuPont movie show is really interesting because the live performers interacted with people in film. And I remember it being very clever that the person on the screen would hold out a rose and hand it to a person, and the live person would take it. Well, there was somebody behind the screen that was handing the rose in perfect synchronization with the the film. But it was like, whoa, they just took that right off the screen into the real world. It was just kind of interesting how they did that. I don't remember how this one came out. This guy had his own opening titles. I'm not going to bother with this one right now. It's really overexposed, and then it gets underexposed. I'm going to just jump real quick to one other section here. If you went to Lake George, New York, and I mentioned Ken Carpenter, I have gone there. This is a place called Storytown. And again, I haven't edited this all out, but this is a great theme park. As a kid, I went to. Again, this came out overexposed. I have to go back and correct it. Jack and Jill went up the hill and down they go. I went there to this park a lot as a kid with my grandparents and then my parents. We used to go up to the Adirondack Mountains every year to go on vacation. This is now owned by the Great America, Great America Park sort of thing. But so much of the old park is still there that when I went back in the 90s with my daughter and took her there, it was just a real kick back to go back and see stuff that I remembered when I was 7 years old. And now she's there at 6, 7 years old, and see that, kids have changed, but their enjoyment of things are still fun from, stuff over the years. Boa constrictor with googly eyes. So what they did was they opened up this park and had this Storytown land, and it was basically a thing for the Three Little Pigs, Rub-a-Dub-Dub, Three Men in the Tub, that sort of thing. Then they opened a Western Town, Frontier Village, and then a Jungle Land. When the '64 World's Fair closed, they bought all sorts of rides and pieces of that, and they also bought pieces of Freedom Land when that closed, and moved them up here to Lake George. So it's still there today. Of course, the emphasis, like most places, is on roller coasters and thrill rides and that sort of stuff. But there's still enough of the 1950s, original attractions still there.
Kind of has the feel of Knott's Berry Farm back in the 50s and early 60s before they went more roller coaster oriented.
Yeah, you're right. And here's some totally dark films, so it goes to another section.
The nice effect.
Yeah, isn't it a great effect?
Okay, that shot right there indicates to me that you've got light transmission issues on your scanner.
I
That
got
doesn't
it.
have anything to do. That doesn't have anything to do with the way that film's underexposed or overexposed. That's the way that the light is being transmitted through, which is way unbalanced.
Well, we'll get it fixed. This is just at the end of the reel. This is the Cog Railway, which is an interesting thing for a train that it has to go up this incredibly steep hill. And Mount Washington, I think it's New Hampshire. Basically, it has to go up just like the cogs that you drive roller coaster, bringing the cars up to the top of the hill, making sure they can't slide back down. This train goes up there and engages with a cog on the rail that goes up, and then they can slowly back it down on a chain. But I just left this on here, somebody's vacation. And I have no idea what lake that is, so at that point, we'll stop sharing. So let me just take a look. Oh, chat, all sorts of things. So Storyland, Glen, New Hampshire. Yeah, let me just go back through these. Let me stop this video that's playing in my background, which is distracting the hell out of me. So yeah, just reading through these. So again, I have to go and refix and redo some of these things, which is a lot of fun to do them once and to do it twice. But it's eventually I'll get it perfected. I have to just tear my office apart. The sick desktop is buried with cables all over the place, and I've known it's been sick for 2 weeks. But it's a pain in the butt to disassemble everything, and one more thing to do. So anyway, I hope people enjoyed some memories or pictures of things back there. And again, it's the technology that the scanner generally does a good job. It's got an issue, a few things we got to get. It also, he's just upgraded it with some new clutch mechanisms and stuff, and he's sending me that. The nice thing is it's still being on warranty, is that all the upgrades and everything come due. The only trouble is I have to take it apart and put them in. So. But the nice thing was I replaced something else in it. When I finished, I didn't have any parts left over. So my dad talked for years. He took his alarm clock apart one day to figure out how it worked and put it back together. And I guess I had a part left over. And he got up the next morning, the alarm went off, and he reached out and hit the button and hit the button, hit the button. Finally got to pull the plug out of the wall, and Bill had to go buy Dad a new alarm clock. So.
Yeah, Bill, I was going to say, if we were to take each of these films that you've processed and look at them subjectively in the view of the photographer, it gives us a slightly different insight of what each photographer may have been looking at or had an interest in, apart from their lack of, or maybe some photographic skills that they have, as we can see what they've concentrated on or what they may have had a better interest in. And I think it's a unique thing to to feel, to see how other people have viewed in their own mind the event that they've been capturing on film. In particular, the funny one that we all laughed about 2 weeks ago of the guy going back for the beer, numerous times. I think these have been, as boring as maybe people may think home movies are, they really have a retrospect to them with regards to how people enjoyed themselves at these events and how they captured them, for a keepsake.
It's interesting you mention that. In each of the books that I've done on World's Fairs, I've tried to mention just that I don't like to use publicity pictures of the events. So we'll say a World's Fair, because that's what the publicity guy wanted to do, is a perfectly posed shot and everything. I'm looking at what entice somebody so much that if you only had 12 exposures on the roll, it was worth taking that picture and then paying to get it developed and do all the rest of it. So it's to me, that makes it kind of interesting. That's why I really liked in this particular case the guy that was getting the shots of the Snow White sign and the Pinocchio sign, and just going and zooming in on the Sleeping Beauty walkthrough in the castle, and you could see all the scroll work and everything on it. Most people just didn't get that sort of thing. So it's kind of interesting to see what they got.
And even going back to the first film that you showed, that was actually a very good film where the guy turned the camera a couple of times, to shoot in a portrait mode. There was some intention behind that, and a lot of people would think, well, what's this guy doing? He's crazy. But maybe there was some intent to what he was doing, but it's just an interesting perspective. When I used to teach, each student had there was an assignment for the week, and each student had to meet the parameters of the assignment, but you had to look at each student's work not only objectively with regards to if they performed and completed the task of the assignment, but you had to look at their work subjectively as well too, with regard to what was that student thinking? How were they applying the principles, or what was their theory and concepts in applying those particular principles that they were interpreting from the assignment? So it's kind of the same way here. It's like, okay, if we went through 1 million of these every day, we'd probably get a little bit bored. But there's still something to be said about these people who have, taken a little extra time to film rather than, obviously film was a big thing back then, compared to nowadays where, you got your cell phone. Everybody takes a picture with their cell phone. Big deal. Big wow. I just think it's interesting.
Yeah, I do.
Well, I think
Sorry,
go
go
ahead.
ahead, Brock.
Well, I was going to comment on that one of the last films we were watching there, obviously the guy was making an attempt, I think, on that flume ride to give you a sense of what it was like to be on it, because he'd spent a lot of time on it. He actually did a very good job of holding the camera pretty steady and everything. He had a little bit of issue when they hit the down ramp, which you didn't get quite the sense of because you didn't have any relationship. It was too tight of a shot, so you couldn't see that it kind of went over a hill. But he was obviously trying an attempt to say, well, this is a neat ride, and I want the people back home to see what it was like, rather than just a couple of seconds of, oh yeah, we're on a flume ride, boom, go on to something else.
No, and that's really true. That's why I was saying I enjoyed the video I'm doing for the guy of him filming his family on the Dumbo ride. I mean, he did a great job. The Dumbos are going up and down, and he's just staying there, and you get the real sense of excitement and movement as opposed to just a still shot. What I also like is like in the Expo 67 one at the beginning, there's a tower that's got all these discs that are turning on it. And it's was a kinetic wind sculpture driven by the winds at the site. It wasn't motorized. But in a still picture, you just see this column standing there, with these, I guess, veins on it. And you see another one and another one. But now in the movie, all of a sudden, this section's going clockwise. This one's going counterclockwise. This one's geared to go really, really fast. This one's going slow. It just brings a whole different dimension to the stuff than a still picture can.
Well, and one thing I think that we have to kind of throw into the equation here is that we're all biased, okay? Because we have an interest in this, and so we're looking at these films not only just as some neighbor or some friend's home movie, boring, big deal. We're looking at these more as just a home movie. We're looking at the subject matter in it. We're looking at how it was filmed and what they captured, and how they captured the subject in the films. So yeah, I think we take this thing a little bit more differently than we would if, we didn't have an interest in this particular subject.
Baron, what you touched on that I think is really, significant is that the person that was filming that with, backwards up, and sideways and all that they had probably been using a still camera their whole life. And that might have been the first time they ever had a movie camera in their hands. So they were used to, like taking these shots from, by
was
tilting
a natural
the
reaction.
Yeah, it was just a natural thing, like, oh, and not realizing that the film didn't respond, like, and which is interesting too, is now because your phone camera can do that, can adapt and stream them together and put them all right. So, but back then, yeah, I think it was just a long time photographer with a movie camera in his hands for the first time. And it just made sense to, I can turn it this way, I can turn it this way and get these interesting shots. And he was wrong.
Realizing that mistake. Yeah.
Hey,
maybe he was just being artsy. Maybe he spent a lot of time watching the old Batman TV show.
Then you would have seen the camera spin.
And you would have seen pow, bam.
Yep.
Speaking of artsy, would you like to see some of the weird stuff that comes across? I'll buy a box of films because I want to get, say, the roll of the 64 World's Fair, but sometimes there's other stuff in it. Would people like to see a really weird film that showed up in one of these boxes?
Oh yeah.
Sure.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
Weird is us.
Oh, weird is us. Well, you will like this. So hang on, let me share screen.
Bill, I cringed when Betamax and VHS came out. Can you imagine buying a box of Grandpa's VHS tapes, home movies, and trying to watch 4 hours of kids opening presents?
Oh, believe me, I've got hours and hours and hours of people opening presents on 8mm. But a friend of mine was just a guy online was talking about how he transfers movies. He has a small shop, and he said he was transferring a movie, and the customer wanted to be there to supervise it, to make sure the colors are balanced and everything. Well, it was about 3 minutes of home movies, and it ended, and all of a sudden there was this total smut film at the end of it that his father evidently had just hidden on the end of it, so the mother never found it. And all of a sudden this guy's realizing, watching it, and then it was listed. Luckily it wasn't his mother and father, but it was like the guy was just like blown away.
That is funny.
Yeah. So here, let me get this one here. The aspect ratio is going to be a little bit off on this because it was shot in 4:3. Oh, here it is. So Dr. Tingle and Mr. Fide. And he's got his.
This was a reel that was in one of your boxes?
Yes. It's soon going to be on eBay if you really want to own this masterpiece. But produced and directed by G.P. Cohen. I haven't looked him up on Internet Movie Database, so I'll have to see. But this is the sort of thing, again, we joke about it, but student filmmakers, the guy's got a Super 8 movie camera and he decides to go off and make a movie. So thank you. He's getting ready for his bow here. Down the hall to the laboratory. Pretty impressive set, huh? You mentioned about cutting off heads before. Whoever shot it didn't quite get that right. And now he's going to drink his concoction. Fade to black. And when he wakes up, he's Mr. Fide.
Except you can't see him.
You'd think he could have at least put on a fake beard or something when he turned into Mr. Fide.
Yep. His entire thing appears to be running down the street, waving his arms at great velocity and knocking people down. Again, great photography here. Whoever he gave the camera to obviously didn't know how to use it. Oh, got another victim. Somehow I feel we're watching Joey here.
I made so many of these 8mm films too. I have a whole bunch of them put away.
Well, if you ever want them transferred, let me know.
Yeah, I would love that.
You have them that you were the actor and the producer and the director, Joey?
Oh, it was us. It was, a bunch of friends got together and, we'd take turns. Yeah.
Okay, so find the one that's the most embarrassing where we can all have a good laugh at you and send it to Bill. Let him process it, and then we'll have a film festival that day and just have a good laugh at your expense.
By the way, I don't know if anybody noticed, this was actually shot in England because he just ran across a zebra crossing.
Oh, I didn't notice.
And all the cars were on the wrong side of the road. Oh, how's that for a special effect? Huh?
There we go. Now, if you're going to do a film festival, I will enter some of my student masterpieces I made films starting in, let's see, I was 14 years old and I made them all the way up until my first semester of college in Super 8.
Oh, did you? Oh,
Yep.
my goodness. Beth came up with this, a Gary P. Cohen on Internet Movie Database, known for magic. Yeah, good guy.
Wow, the same guy. Wow.
Could be.
Wow.
Have you ever seen Steven Spielberg's student films that he made when he was a kid?
No,
His first one is really ordinary. I mean, in fact, my film was better, but his second film, he snuck onto the back lot of Universal and filmed it there. He just somehow hopped the fence and started filming stuff, and it's actually really pretty wonderful.
It's interesting. I have to see if I could track this guy down. Maybe he'd like his movie back because I don't
Maybe
need
he would.
it. It is interesting. Years ago, back before I bought the scanner, I was buying movies just to watch them myself. And I ended up with this family from Long Island, Lynbrook, New York, a giant box of their films. And I only wanted their pictures going to the 64 World's Fair. But every year at Christmas time, they would hold up a sign, Christmas 1958, and they'd all come down the stairs. And if you remember, the projector, the cameras had these giant lights, like my parents would blind us to see for about a week. And then they had to be there in 58, 59, and you could watch the family get older. And I felt really bad. I had, it was probably 30 boxes of this stuff. So it was sort of an unusual name. I went online, found out that they lived in Lynbrook, looked up the address, and there was the obituary for the parents. But again, it was a sort of unusual last name, and I tracked the brother down in the Washington, D.C. area. So I sent him a note and said, hey, I've ended up with your family's home movies, so I thought you might like them back or whatever. And he said, oh yeah, when my parents died, we hired a company to clean out the house and they sold everything off. I don't need them back. And or I don't want him back. And it was 2 boys and a young girl. He says, my brother Mike, he's coming back from Japan in 6 months. So 6 months later, I got in touch with the guy. Do you want the family movies? I just want the postage for him. The guy says, okay, send them to me. Send the movies. I never got a thank you, and he never paid me the postage.
Ah,
If all of a sudden somebody come out of nowhere and said, hey, I've got your family's home movies, maybe his parents were the version of Betty Davis, or No Wire Hangers or whatever. But I mean, I was just astonished that if any of you, if all of a sudden somebody came and said, I got movies of you as a 7-year-old, wouldn't you want them?
I would,
Of course.
but it's like I
I
told you,
would.
my friend who's in the video transfer business says this happens all the time. Families bring in their films for transfer to digital. Sometimes he makes DVDs or Blu-rays. Sometimes he gives them thumb drives with files, and then quite a high percentage of the time they don't want them back. They just say dumpster them.
Yeah, big
And,
mistake.
I had a
I think
friend,
it's a huge mistake. And sometimes I he knows what I collect, and sometimes he'll call me and ask me if I want to take it. I'm like, sure. I've ended up with a couple things from the abandoned and orphaned collection.
I have a friend that had a filmed a video transfer company in Burbank. And it was the same kind of a deal. People would bring in films and then he would transfer them. And a lot of times they didn't want them back. Well, a lot of, not often, but once in a while, somebody come in with nitrate film and he would transfer that. And so we said, hey, I heard this stuff burns. So we took a 2,000-foot roll, which is a large 35-millimeter roll, took it over to his house and put it on his barbecue in the backyard and lit it on fire. That film had a column of flame 12 feet tall. It was just amazing. And then we lit up a smaller one and put it on a coat hanger and lit it on fire and pushed it into the pool, and it continued to burn under the
Yes.
water.
It makes its own oxygen.
Yeah, it
Almost
was.
impossible to put out a nitrate fire. In fact, until I stumbled across a U.S. Navy demonstration film showing how to put it out. You can actually extinguish a nitrate fire, but they did it by pouring like a fire hose worth of water directly at it, so it effectively smothered it. But that's the only time I have ever heard of anyone putting out a nitrate fire.
I had an interesting experience with nitrate. We were at the studio and they gave us a demonstration. They took off about a 2-foot section of it, put a match to it, and as Glenn said, it really burns. But we had a film club at Disneyland where at the studio, and we also met at Disneyland where we would use the Lincoln Theater and show various films in that. And I was all set to show something down there one day, and they said, we can't find it. We don't know where it went. We lost it. And I said, well, great. I've got several hundred cast members coming to something, and they said, well, and Ron Miller called over the film ball and said, let Cotter have anything he wanted. So I went through a list of stuff, and one of the things was a cartoon at the time that Disney had embargoed, The Mad Doctor, with Mickey, where this doctor's trying to cut his head off and glue it to the head. He was to like take his head, put it in the body of a chicken and stuff. So anyway, I said, well, I've heard about The Mad Doctor. I've never seen it. I'd like to get it. So they said, okay, sure, no problem. So they were supposed to let me pick it up at the film dock, and they said, oh, we sent it down to Disneyland. It's at the warehouse. So I drove down to Disneyland, picked it up at the warehouse, and I said, man, God, this thing's heavy. Big metal box. Took it out to the I had a Porsche 924 at the time. Opened up the hatch, put it in the back, closed it. Went out to dinner. I was having dinner with Ollie Johnson, the animator, and we had a nice dinner. And then he was going to come and talk about some of the cartoons we were showing that night. And we take it to the theater, and the guy opens the box and slams it shut. He goes, I can't play this in here. This is nitrate. And I go, well, what do you mean? And he says, well, nitrate, they have special rollers on the projector. So if it catches fire, they can try to stop the rest of the theater from burning down. And they had taken them out of the theater. They couldn't use it. And I've just been sitting there. It was about 85 degrees out. This thing's sitting in the trunk of my Porsche. So if any of you guys know Mark Kaufler, he's a big guy in animation. I called up Mark, and Mark had his own 35-millimeter projector at home equipped with rollers for nitrate. So I called him up and said, hey, Mark, I've got a 35 millimeter nitrate print of, the Mad Doctor. Do you want to see it? And he goes, oh yeah, where are you and when? So I drove up from Disneyland after our show. We showed everything else but that. Went into his house. On my camera, it goes blurry, and let me get that again. Anyway, he had about 20 other film nerds. They're all hanging around his living room, and it was like, this was a movie everybody had heard of but never seen. And it was just great fun. But every time I think about nitrate, I think about my brand new Porsche exploding with this thing in the back. I had no idea how dangerous it was, or I don't think I would have put it in the trunk of my car.
Well,
Yeah,
you
all
know,
my
Bill,
film
as a-
friends had to take training on how to handle it and how to ship it. The people that I know that are in the restoration business.
Yeah, no, it's, and the section, the role that you had, Glenn, was it all decomposed or was it in good shape?
No, it was in great shape, and he transferred it. And they had a theater in their house. It was in Toluca Lake, and we used to watch nitrate films a lot because he had access to a bunch of them. So we watched a nitrate print of Gone with the Wind one night. It was just amazingly beautiful.
Yeah.
Ooh.
No, it's good stuff, but when it goes bad and it decomposes, it just turns into goo. It's really, it's so unstable. It's sort of like messing with old sticks of dynamite.
Right. Well, that's why the old theaters had these trap doors, this big piece of metal that would come down
Yes,
in front of the port.
they're
And
shutters.
yeah, and there would be a tungsten rope or something that held them up, and it would melt and drop them. And it was to contain the fire in the projection room. God
Yeah.
help the projectionist.
Yeah, somebody was just talking about, they were just yesterday, a guy, this guy, Donnie Norton, was exploring a bunch of the back lots. He's written a really, really interesting book about the hole in the fence. He lived across the street from the old MGM studio, and he would go in and explore there. And it's on Facebook. He posts the Phantom of the Back Lot, and he had a thing yesterday about exploring the film vaults at Desilu Productions. After they were tearing down the Desilu studios, the vault was still there, and it was full of stuff, including all sorts of nitrate prints. And somebody mentioned what you just said, Glenn, about the projection booth at one of the, was that Technicolor or one of the film labs, about how they had the fusible link that would melt and drop down the shutter. And the roof was also designed so that the roof would easily explode up and not take all four walls down. And he's made some comment about it was great for the people watching the movie, but it would sacrifice the projection. So,
I guess we're all disposable, aren't we?
oh, we find that out, don't we? Don't we?
Well, Bill, with the subject of it burning, I was going to say, I know you are aware of this, and anybody else who may be a scout or a scouter on here, but at times when I had to teach scouts or new adult leaders who were becoming new assistant scoutmasters or even new scoutmasters about a flag retirement ceremony, is that you do not use anything but cloth flags to burn, because if you begin burning nylon flags and people are hanging around the campfire when you're burning the flags in a ceremony, everybody will just get a massive headache from the nylon being burned and the chemicals that it produces and gives off, and that you just do, and the leftover goo that's left in a campfire, because generally after a campfire with a flag retirement ceremony and the fire's gone down, the scouts that go out the next morning to pick out the grommets, and then they use the grommets and they decorate the grommets and, give them to people and things like that. But it's just the same thing, is that you just do not burn, any American flag that's made out of nylon or plastic material, that you can only just retire cloth flags without getting everybody hanging around the campfire extremely sick.
Yeah, that would be pretty noxious. So next week I will not be here. Next week we have what's called LAPD Volunteer Appreciation Day. So this is the first time they've done it in like the last 10 years. And if you're in LA, they're having Pink's Hot Dogs coming and giving us free hot dogs. So I figure I put about 20-30 hours a week in this, and after 10 years I get a free hot dog. I'm not going to go pass it up. But I do have some stuff planned for 2 weeks from now. I am giving a different talk tomorrow, and Paul's on the phone, on the line here. Paul, did you want to talk about the event in case anybody's interested? And let me stop the dogs again. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, so I don't see you. Thanks, Paul.
There you go. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Okay. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Paul Schmabelin. I'm the legacy coordinator for the Disneyland Fan Club. Tomorrow, we've invited Bill to give a presentation for something we call BFC Presents off of our website. And Bill's going to be showing you some Disney rarities that he's found all over the place. That's at 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. If you're a member of the Disneyland Fan Club, it's complimentary. If you're not, it's reasonably priced. And from what Bill showed me, it's going to be a really, really good show. So details are over at DisneylandFanClub.org. And we'd love it if you folks join us.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. The subject is things I found when I was looking for something else. It's kind of interesting that as you're looking for things in the dusty archives, it's sort of like if you were going into the Raiders of the Lost Ark and there's stuff everywhere. Sometimes, what's this? So I was doing some research at Cal Arts a number of years ago on Cal Arts Disney and animation, and went down a giant rat hole of just weird stuff. That turned out it was this Walt Disney secretary's files that when she left Disney, her husband donated a whole bunch of stuff to Cal Arts for a tax deduction. So if you want to know what Walt gave people for Christmas presents each year and what kind of perfume he made sure his wife and daughter got, and his choice of cigarettes that he kept his kitchen stacked with, and advice from his lawyers, and all sorts of just really crazy bit stuff. Then I have a bunch of weird videos and stuff that I'm going to be showing as well. So again, that's 4 o'clock Pacific time tomorrow, and invite any of you to join. And something we haven't done here before. I wanted to keep something different for Paul's audience. And Derek's mentioned the Mad Doctors on YouTube. It's now it's out. They put it out, on DVD and everything. But back in the 70s, it was strictly embargoed because of the so-called violence or anything. And there were about a half a dozen cartoons that Disney would not put out. There's one. I'm trying to remember the name of it. Can't remember the name. Donald Duck is with his nephews and a bunch of headhunters or from a local sideshow at a circus get out, and they go into the backyard and they start trying to cook Donald up in a pot. And, he thinks it's the nephews and doesn't realize these headhunters are actually trying to cook him and eat him. And it ran on the Disney Channel, and they took out all of the African character scenes because they were objectionable. And the 6-minute cartoon ran about 2 minutes and 35 seconds, and it makes no sense whatsoever. But that was the sort of thing they did. They just, some idiot goes by, well, we can't show this, can't show this, can't show. And they literally showed, it was not worth showing. It's one of the weird, I have to see about trying to find that for my show tomorrow. Write that down. Cut Donald cartoon.
Bill, where is the show tomorrow?
It's online, and
Oh, it's online. Okay.
yeah, it's online, and what you call it, all it's mentioning on the website. So not
Okay.
Just go over to DisneylandFanClub.org, and you'll see the link over to Eventbrite, so you can sign up for the event.
Okay.
Beth just put it in
Oh,
the comment.
There we go.
And it's a great organization. I was talking to Paul and another one of his coworkers yesterday that I talked years and years and decades ago at when it was the National Fantasy Fan Club, and gave a talk there on Zorro. I was trying to sell my book on Disney television. So I gave a whole talk on Zorro and told everybody the first chapter's online on CompuServe.com, if you remember CompuServe. And if you like it, there's an address that you can go and write to Disney and tell them you'd like to see the rest of the book. And about a month later, I get this call from Disney about, okay, we'll do the book, but how did you get so many people to write to us? Do you have, like a huge family? And I said, no, not really. I mean, I got 4 brothers. And so we were just getting letters from Bolivia and from, Germany and from, Spain and all over the place. And well, that's because Disney fan clubs go really well. And I said, yeah, I'd stuck it on the internet. And the guy said, what's the internet? And, I tried explaining it to him. And as I was mentioning to Paul, I actually made more money with Disney setting up Disney.com than I made on the book. So it was just the right spot at the right time. But, I wish I could be there. They have an event coming up in 2 weeks in person. I wish I could be there. But I'm just not going anywhere for the virus issues. Hey, Richard, you didn't come down with COVID up at Ontario, did you?
No, I wear an N95 anytime I'm in an enclosed space, and I kept quite a distance away from a lot of people inside the hall. And most of the other things we did were outside. So I was lucky. As soon as I heard the cook came down with it, I got in my car and I drove back home.
Yeah, because on Monday I started getting messages. Oh, guess what I got? It was like, I really wanted to go to it so bad, but now I don't feel as bad. So
you said 5 people you heard of got it?
yeah, one person told me 5, another person told me 8. So I don't know what the final number was.
Yeah, that's about out of about 60 people, I guess. That's what I think the number was. Is that your number, Bill?
There were 80 something that paid. Whether or not everybody went, I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, I was lucky. I just came down with a different virus this week. That's all.
Are you going to the WOEPEX event?
No, we're talking about Boy Scouts camps. Wopex was the Long Island one, and I only set foot there twice in my life, so I wasn't that tied to it. And I drive to Long Island as infrequently as possible.
Well, next week's make it time number 3. It's the 100th anniversary of our camp on Long Island, which today in today's world of Boy Scouts, getting to the 100-year mark for Boy Scout camp and not selling it is quite a milestone. So there's so many councils that are selling their camps off, and luckily we're able to keep both of ours, one in the Catskills, one on Long Island. So next week will be the 100th anniversary of Camp WOEPEX. And again, I sure wish I could go, but I know I'd go there and they'd say, hey, guess what? The chef got COVID.
Wait, just to fill you folks in a little bit more, the chef and the assistant chef during one of the summer sessions came down with COVID also.
Yeah.
So, of course, that was maybe 3 or 4 months ago, but I really invite you folks to take a look at your best sources of information about what the numbers really are, and forget about everybody making believe it's not around.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I have a swimming pool, and 2 weeks ago, a different guy showed up to do the swimming pool. So I asked the guy, hey, where's Dave? Oh, he got COVID, and was in the second week. Hey, Dave's still sick. So Dave showed up this week, and I said, hey, Dave, I'm not getting anywhere near you. How you feeling? And he goes, oh, I'm still a little rocky and everything. But he goes, I was not feeling too well, and I sat down, and the next thing I know, I passed out. I was unconscious, and he was sick as a dog for a week. And he also had not had the shot because he figured it was no big deal. And he goes, no, I got to rethink that now. But, when you're talking to somebody that was, sick as a dog, and literally to the point where he passed out, he was coughing so much, he couldn't get breath and he passed out. That's why I'm still making very careful, we don't go anywhere, we don't do anything. So it's, someday we'll have to come down and see you, Brock, but we have to go sit somewhere, eat outdoors.
Well, I'll have to say, Diane and I both had our shots, both had both boosters, and we came down with COVID about a month and a half ago now. It was, and I have to drive her everywhere we go. So I'm always with her, except we know the time frame. And I caught it from her. She caught it. I got it 4 days later. So I know she was the source for me. But the only place we'd been to 2 places within the time frame that she could have gotten it. A theater and a restaurant. And the only place I wasn't with her was in the women's room. So we know that's where she picked it up and I got it. Now she had what I would consider a more, not severe, but a stronger case of the flu kind of thing. A lot of coughing with her, but not overly bad. I had like walk around very light flu for 3 days, not even 3 days really. And I was, never felt, I had a little bit of a cough one day, but that was it. And it was amazing, but probably because we had the shots that helped a lot with it, but it was no worse than having the flu. And when she came down with it, she just thought she had a cold. And I said, well, we better test to make sure. And sure enough, she came up positive, and I didn't come up positive till 4 days later because I was having to help her and everything else. And even though I wore a mask, it was just like not convenient. I couldn't wear a mask all the time. I'm not going to sleep in a mask. I did sleep one night in a separate room. And then I went, this is, because she wasn't doing too bad. But at any rate, it's different with different people. And I understand that. But if for our experience with it wasn't bad at all. And, we both tested positive, a few days later, negative a few days later. And that was it. And so, we haven't been overly careful, but we were at the same time, we weren't, we're somewhat careful about it. I'm going to the Disney thing Tuesday. I know you're not. But I went to the last Disney lunch and had no issues there either. So anyway, but we'll see what happens.
I'm actually going to be pretty close to the Disney thing Tuesday. I may just drive by and wave to you all.
Okay, yeah.
Well, so it sounds like Brock has the answer, Bill. Just stay out of the ladies' room.
Yeah, that's where COVID comes from. We now know.
But I think I told you last one of these, I was on the the Wonder for 7 nights, and we just got back on Sunday, and nobody got anything. There was 11 of us, 4 rooms.
Well, I'm glad to hear that because we
Debbie
booked. Oh, go ahead.
Debbie was on it. It was a pretty good discount for the Disney retirees, and she'll be at the lunch. We're going to the lunch too. Anyway, there's life out there.
Well,
Yeah,
we just. Oh, go ahead.
I didn't know you were on the same time. I saw Debbie's pictures from the trip, the costume thing. They dressed up like a bunch of butterflies and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if we're friends on Facebook, but my wife and kids have posted a whole bunch of stuff on there. We all had 3 different costumes. So I had to take a whole suitcase just with costumes.
I'll have to look for them. Yeah, it looked like they were having a great time.
Yeah, I just booked this morning the Wonder for December 4th through 8th for Diane's 75th birthday. We're gonna just take a cruise down to Baja California, the 4-day cruise out of San Diego. And
yeah, that's what we did. It was 7 days though, and it went to Mazatlan, Cabo, and Puerto Vallarta.
Yeah, we just were gonna do a short one. Have to get back to a new kitten.
You guys are making me jealous. I left after 6 years, but Carol did but almost 18 with Disney, but 18 isn't good enough for the the cruise benefits. So as a matter of fact, 18, she gets a pension, but anything else like a gold pass or silver pass or anything, forget it.
Yeah.
That's not right.
Yeah, well, that was Disney, as the guys will know, new management came in, and if you were old Disney, particularly, maybe at Wedge you were a little isolated from it, but she being at the studio and stuff, they were just real fun. There's so many people.
Actually, I was at the Disney Channel.
Yeah, right. Disney Channel when it happened, but if you came in, everybody, if you were viewed as a Ron Miller lover, you were toast sort of thing, and then they would come in. Why didn't you monetize this asset? Why didn't you? Well, because management didn't let us. It's not that we didn't think of doing it. So, but I would talk to so many people that were at the studio, and all the new guys came in, and if you were part of the old, that's what Carol got caught up in. Here comes all the new ones, so let's push out all the old ones. So,
and the new people got paid better than we did.
Yeah. a lot better. So, but it's you roll with the punches. So, but at least she still gets the pension, so that's nice.
Yeah.
So I'll see you all in 2 weeks. Hope everybody has a good weather wherever you are. We're having a little drizzle. I think it's stopped now, but
No, it's still wet out.
oh, good. Well, we need it. Did you guys get the rain up in your area, Glenn, this week?
Yeah, a few days ago, it was huge thunder.
Wednesday, right?
Yeah, I think so. Big
Yeah.
thunderclaps and a lot of rain, but it
Yeah.
didn't last very long.
No.
Yeah, we got a little bit, I think it was also on Wednesday, and then overnight last night, I think it was just a sprinkle more than anything else. It wet everything, but it wasn't, you could tell it wasn't, the sidewalks were starting to dry out when I got up this morning already.
Yeah. Tom, you had your hand up?
Hey, yeah, Bill. I asked you in the email. You probably didn't see it.
No.
But have you ran into any film about, date night or the grad night stuff? When the Elliott brothers were playing in the plaza, and they had Louis Armstrong. They had all these just fabulous, singers.
Yeah, I've got the anthology series episodes where they have, some of that stuff. So I think I have all those. When you mentioned date night, they did a live show at Disneyland back in the 60s where, Walt would just coincidentally have, hey, look, it's Fred McMurray. Fred, tell us about the new movie you're starring in. Oh, the
Shaggy Dog.
Shaggy Dog or Absent-Minded Professor sort of thing.
Yeah.
I don't have any amateur films of that. And
That's what I was wondering. Yeah, because I have the other stuff, but I just thought,
figured you would have the other stuff.
when you consider that they were doing this for over 10 years, it's really surprising that there aren't any amateur films.
Yeah, well, part of it is probably if they were amateur, they'd probably be for the most part silent, and I don't know about you, but I don't take too many movies, silent movies, musical acts, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, I do, if I can find it and get everything ready, I do have some interesting music videos that Annette did for a series called Jukebox Saturday Night. So every now and then, like I said, you're looking for something and something else shows up and you go, wow, that was different. So you never know, some stuff may show up at some point in time. So, well, see you in 2 weeks. I hope everybody's doing well, and I'll think of you next week as I'm enjoying my free hot dog.
I can't make it in 2 weeks.
Oh, well, then we won't do it.
You won't do it? I gotta go up to Brooklyn, New York for a wedding.
Hey, what's more important? People get married all the time, right? Come
Yeah, I
on.
hope I don't get COVID up there.
Have a good trip.
Thank you, Bill. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Great.
Yeah, thanks a
Bill.
lot, Bill. I
Bye-bye.
appreciate it.
Great. See you guys later.
Thanks
Enjoy
so
the lunch.
much.
Enjoy the lunch on Tuesday.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks so
everyone.
much.
Bye.